All right, so we are now against playing against Kharlov Andrei in Bern.
Yeah, he was an Ukrainian grandmaster, I think. And he was also very tactically very dangerous. And again, I had to play against the Sveshnikov idea with c3, like in the first game with Rosenthalis, you see. We'll have something a little bit different, but the same idea. E6 and knight f3. This is the difference between the two games, you know.
But here he pushed, he didn't took in.
He didn't take. If he takes in d5, you take back with the queen, and you have something similar with our game with Rosenthalis. This is a new line. Here, after e5, he wants to play a normal position from the French defense, you know, if you play d4 later on.
Yes.
But black has time to push, and now we have a different position where black gives a pawn for a strong initiative. I mean, has a very good position by giving a pawn. Everything is forced. So he takes and bishop b5. Now the best move is to give the pawn. Okay, we played there, and he took the pawn. You take in b5, he has to take. Knight c6. And now, okay, castle. And now you don't take back the pawn. If you take back the pawn, he has time to play immediately d4, rook e1, and later on d5 and so on. And white is better. But you don't take the pawn immediately. You play first a6. No? We attack the knight. If now has to come back, because if he gives back the pawn by playing knight d6 check, black is already better, you know, because has a weak pawn on the d file, and black has no problem at all. Plays later on the knight in f6, knight d6 check, he could play. Now, after knight c3, again, you have to play finally the knight e7, knight g6 is much better than taking immediately the pawn from e5.
Why?
So, because then if you take back immediately, then you give a strong initiative by playing d4, d5, you see.
Yes.
So knight e7, you control first the central squares, and you threaten later on to take back the pawn, like in our game, you see. So b3 has to push something, you know, bishop b2, knight a3, I mean, has to finish the development. Knight a3, okay. So now castle and bishop b2. Okay, he gives you the pawn. Okay, you have to take back the pawn. And now he has time to play his idea, you know, d4. Now, if you take in d4, you lose a piece, no? So you have to go back with the knight. And it seems that white is okay. And now, the first surprise. If you take in d5, it's much better for white.
Why?
If you take, after knight takes d5, he attacks the bishop, he has the good diagonal, and is clearly better for white.
Okay.
But you have another good move, knight b4. This is a small surprise, because now if you take in e6, I mean, you attack the pawn from d5. And if you take in e6, after knight d3, white is lost. You give a pawn for big initiative, and you win something with knight d3, you see. You attack the rook, you attack the bishop, and you attack with the bishop from e7, also the knight from a3. If you have time to put the knight in d3, the position is completely winning for black, you see. So, also, he has to play the best moves here by not taking in e6. If he takes in, I told you, is bad, no? Queen d4, a5, of course. I mean, we had time to protect the knight, but it seems that after rook d1, white has a very good game, no? Okay, so after bishop f6, has to go back, and now we can take back in d5. I mean, now, if he takes back in d5, he's lost again. He loses immediately because you have time to win back with the knight from b4 in d5, and he loses a piece. You protect the bishop from f6, and you attack again the bishop from b2, and you are piece up and you win with black. Big mistake to take in d5, of course. But, all right, he played good move, knight b5. After knight d5, b5, he wants to play immediately a3, and it's better for him if he has time to play a3. If you have to go back and he has time to take with the knight in d5, it's very dangerous for black, you see. So again, from here, it's move by move. Rook c8, a3, okay. So now what to do? d4, the best move. knight e4. And here, after knight e4, again the best move, rook c2. Very complicated position, but again, move by move, all positions are better for black. But you have to be very careful to play well until the end, you see. And from here, we transpose in a position where we come to an endgame by force, you see. Queen takes f6, queen takes d4, and now rook takes b2. All right, finally we have some material. We win some material with black, but it's very, very difficult to demonstrate how you win because of the structure, and the structure will be bad for black. I mean, the pawn structure. So you see, the double pawn and so on. So now he took in b4, I took in b3, rook b1, and you have time to take the second pawn in b4. He takes. Okay, here we have the first position. We have 2 pawns up, but it's not very easy because the pawns are bad, you know. If he has time to take back the 2 pawns, it's enough. He has no problem to make draw, you know.
Yeah.
So how to win this? You have to demonstrate a very good technique here. You see, again, it's impossible to take immediately in b4 because he was mated. Okay, g3. Yes. Okay. Now after g3, you have time to protect somehow the pawn from b4. I mean, it's not very easy to take back the pawn. You know? He has time to come with his king on the central squares, but for the moment we have still our pawn. We didn't lose the pawn from b4. You know? So, okay, check here. We protect him before. He has to try on the other side, you know, he has a good structure for the moment. You know? And h5, we fix the position. H5 is a very important move. We'll see later on.
Why not to...
Yeah, we give him the move. I mean, he has to try to take back some material. I mean, he has 2 pawns down here, yeah.
Yes.
Has very good position. I mean, very safe. I mean, you can't win immediately with black, but you have to see how you can win finally, you know, because it's very difficult. Okay, king e4, and now, all right, after checking e2, the king is all right. He wants to give you a pawn or something, but to have always a chance to make a draw. I mean, the idea is to take back the pawn from the b7. Afterwards, the knight is weak on c6, and he has time to take the second pawn from b4, and that is his hope to make draw, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so, okay, rook e3, knight e6, as I told you. So now, what to do? I mean, that his idea was very clear, you know. Okay, so he could take there. Now we have to go back with the knight. We check, yeah. And we have to change the idea again by giving somehow the pawn from b3, but playing on the other side. You know, we transpose in some other endgame on the other side. All right, so we can't protect the pawn from b3. Rook g4. We lost the pawn there, but we win the other pawn from h4. Therefore, you see the idea with h5 was very important. To fix the position, to win the pawn from h4 and have some winning endgame later on, you know. So, okay, now, finally we have an endgame with 2 pawns up for black, but very difficult to win, it seems, because the pawn are doubled, you know. If the pawn was in g7, it was completely winning. With the pawn in f6, not so easy, you see. So, right. Again, you have to play very well until the end. Knight b4 comes on the central square on d5, you see. So king g7, rook g1, check. Now we have again to play very well because he wanted to play quickly f5, you see. If he has time to play f5, he saves the game, you know. So now what can we do? f5, of course. We don't give the idea, no? f5. Rook g5. Now we lose a pawn, but it's enough because he's pinned on the 5th rank, you see. Therefore, black wins by force this endgame. And we'll see how in the few moves. h4 takes the pawn, yeah. h3. Now, what to do? Rook h5, of course, no? Knight e7. Now he's pinned, no? If he takes in h3, he loses the knight.
Yeah.
If he plays like in our game, rook g5 check, the only hope, no? King f8, Zugzwang, white resign. Because now if he takes in e7, you have time to take in g5, takes, and h2 and queen.
So
Yes,
if
the
you
only
take
move.
here,
Take the rook, takes, and h2. Yeah.
and then yes.
And queen. Very instructive until the end, you see. So we had everything. You know, opening, middle game, very complicated, end game, very complicated. And finally, very nicely won by black, you see. Yes.
Yeah, the conversion of the advantage.
Yeah,
Of those,
the technique is very,
technique.
very high level like this, you know. So you have to demonstrate how you can win a very nice game with big advantage, big edge for black, but again, not very easy to win. So
Yeah.
if you can convert and win such a position, it's very good. I mean, you could show that you have a very, very nice technique.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.